Hi, I'm Joe Feeks, editor of Pig Health Today, and with me is Elise Toohill. She is a swine veterinarian at Carthage Veterinary Services in Carthage, Illinois. Welcome to Pig Health Today.
Thanks for having me.
I want to talk with you about individual pig care. It's not a new concept, but it sounds like a daunting one because when you're talking about individual pig care and then you've got hundreds, maybe thousands of pigs that you have to look after, it seems like a lot of work.
It does seem like a lot of work, but it's very important work, and it makes such a big impact on your individual site and your individual production system that I think we as veterinarians and as production people really need to continue to focus to educate our caretakers and our people in the field on how to make individual pig care easier, how to make it simple, and how to really focus on it each and every day in order to do what's right for our pigs.
And some might say, well, that's easy for you to say. You're a veterinarian, I'm the person here on the farm. But before getting to Carthage, you spent quite a few years at the Mashoffs.
I did.
And what was your experience there in terms of individual pig care? How did you go about managing that?
Well, we tried to set up protocols and systems that were in place so we could train our people that are in the field on how to easily identify sick pigs and easily identify why they are sick by putting it into different categories that would then lead to what we need to do from a treatment standpoint, whether that is something from an antibiotic treatment or simply pulling the pig out of the pen to bring it to another pen where it can have more isolated care and more individual attention. So we try to have basic systems and protocols in place that as new people are there, we can, one, train the new people on how to do these, and then also as our field team is in the barn and auditing, and our veterinarians are in the barn and auditing how well we're executing, we can always bring them back to those protocols of here's how we need to assess the individual pigs every day and what we need to do based off of what they need.
And I know some people talk about walking the pens. I've had another veterinarian tell me that he always goes in with a 5-gallon bucket, turns it upside down, and just sits there and watches them for a while. What secrets can you share?
Oh, I think the most important thing is to observe, to constantly be observing. Our caretakers are in the barn every day. They spend a lot of time in the barn. So I think keeping in the back of your mind that the pigs tell us what they need. So if you can train your people to think about observing, making observations and gathering those observations, even while they're checking feeders, even while they're checking the waters. If it's always in the back of your brain, then when you go in to really find the pigs that need treated and pulled, it's easier to know, okay, maybe I need to focus on this side more, and maybe I need to pay attention for lameness in this pen because I saw more as I was walking through the barn earlier. I think that helps people target what they need to do for the day a little more effectively.
What's really driving this? Is it the need to use antibiotics more responsibly, or is it just to try to get a better return on investment from the pigs? Or what's your view?
Oh, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's important that we prioritize judicious use of antibiotics. We also know that injectable treatments tend to be some of the best form of delivery of getting the right amount of antibiotic at the right dose in the pig at the time that they need it. So if you can really identify the pigs acutely as they're just starting to get sick and get the treatment into them at an early stage, you have a much higher likelihood of success. And ultimately, we live in a world that's based off of ROI, right? So if we can identify the pigs that need attention, even if it's not a treatment. I see a lot of pigs that simply are falling out for other reasons, such as nutritional. They're falling out nutritionally because maybe they don't have as good of access to feeders and waters as the rest of their pen mates. So sometimes it's as simple as getting the pigs out of the pen to a different situation. And all of that helps the overall, by focusing on the individuals, then your overall group will be more consistent and will have better gains and mortality as a result.
Is individual pig care for young pigs only, or is this something that you could take into the later in the grow finish units, or maybe even into the breeding herd?
There's principles that can be applied for individual pig care across the entire industry. Starting the wean pig is such a critical point in life for that pig, so I think that's where we really focus on it. But as the pig gets older, we tend to see things like lameness that or other clinical signs or categories that that individual pig care can definitely be applied in those situations as well. When it comes to the sow herd, individual pig care is important from that aspect as well, so that we can do everything we can to identify when that sow is starting to become lame, for example, or when she goes off feed, or when she might have a fever in the farrowing house. All of those clinical signs are just as important. They're just a little bit different. They're a little different category of signs that you're looking at in the sow herd versus the younger pigs in finishing per se.
Now, getting back to the younger pigs for a moment, if you're walking the pens and, you know, it's one thing to spot a couple of pigs that need attention, but what if you find that maybe 3/4 or 2/3 of them need attention? That would be a lot to take an injectable antibiotic, for example, and isolate them all and treat them. Is that a situation where then you have to start considering mass medication, like with the feed medication?
Absolutely. I think that's where the relationship between the producer or the grower or the caretaker and their production personnel and their veterinarian become really crucial and really important. The best sites that I have that produce the best results are the people that identify how many pigs they're treating for the various clinical signs. So let's say I have 3 lame pigs in a pen today. So if they can communicate, last week I was treating 3 to 5 lame pigs in the pen, but this week there's 10 to 12. And then through the knowledge that I have of the site, I can convert those number of pigs to a prevalence, the total prevalence of lameness. And that prevalence really helps me as a veterinarian to gauge how our individual treatments are working or our individual strategies, and then if another strategy is needed, depending on what the disease is, depending on what the clinical sign is. I have different thresholds of what prevalence is important and would indicate and justify a mass treatment either in the feed or the water. And sometimes it's not necessarily just the treatments that are important. There's times where I have the best guys that are working hours and hours and hours a day in the barn doing treatments, and if they can communicate with me how much they're doing and how that's changing over time, then we can work together to think about other strategies that could also impact that clinical sign or that disease, and we can work together to maybe figure out other ways and other strategies to help them improve.
So simple concept, lots of work, but a good return on investment.
Absolutely.
We've been talking to Elise Toohill. She is a swine veterinarian at Carthage Veterinary Services in Carthage, Illinois. Thanks again for coming by.
Thank you.